In the scorching sands of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, where pharaohs slumbered for eternity, a forgotten boy king lay hidden for over 3,000 years. It was November 4th, 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter, chisel in hand, broke through a sealed doorway. His patron, the wealthy Lord Carnarvon, peered over his shoulder and whispered the words that would echo through history. "Can you see anything?" Carter's reply was breathless. "Yes, wonderful things." What they uncovered was the intact tomb of Tutankhamun, a treasure trove of gold, jewels, and artifacts that dazzled the world. But amid the glory lurked a shadow, a legend of vengeance from beyond the grave that would claim lives and ignite global hysteria. Was it mere coincidence, or did the ancient pharaoh's wrath truly awaken? Tutankhamun ascended the throne around 1332 BC, a 9-year-old boy ruling an empire still reeling from his father Akhenaten's radical religious reforms. The young king restored traditional gods, rebuilt temples, and died mysteriously at 19, perhaps from malaria or a chariot accident, his body hastily mummified and buried in a modest tomb, unfit for a ruler of his lineage. KV62, as it became known, was no grand pyramid but a cramped chamber in the cliffs, sealed with plaster stamped by workers who feared robbers more than gods. For centuries, it escaped the plunder that stripped other royal graves bare. Nature itself conspired to protect it. Flash floods buried the entrance under debris, while tomb raiders overlooked its humble facade. Tutankhamun's name was even erased from records by successors like Horemheb, who sought to bury his predecessor's legacy along with his body. Fast forward to the early 20th century. Egypt's ancient wonders had become a playground for European explorers, but the Valley of the Kings had yielded mostly empty tombs. Howard Carter, a stubborn artist-turned-archaeologist, had spent 15 fruitless years digging for Lord Carnarvon, a spirited aristocrat whose passion for Egypt was matched only by his fragile health. Chronic bronchitis and a near-fatal car accident had left him wheezing through high society parties. The partnership teetered on collapse in 1921, with Carnarvon ready to pull funding. But Carter's plea for one more season changed everything. On that fateful November day, a water boy stumbled into a step cut from rock, revealing the top of a staircase. Carter's heart raced as he uncovered the seal, Nebkheperur Tutankhamun. The stakes couldn't be higher. Robberies in ancient times had cursed such violations with divine fury, and modern glory hung in the balance. Word spread like wildfire through Cairo's cafes. By November 26th, the sealed door was cleared, revealing faint traces of ancient break-ins. Thieves had breached it shortly after burial, but were caught, resealing the tomb hastily. On the 29th, under electric lights jury-rigged from Carnarvon's generators, Carter and a select few pried open the entrance. A blast of stale air, 3,200 years old, washed over them, carrying whispers of incense and decay. Inside, statues of Tutankhamun guarded a golden shrine, its panels gleaming with scenes of the afterlife. Chariots, thrones, alabaster vases, and a treasury of jewelry spilled from antechambers. At the heart lay the sarcophagus, veiled in linen and flowers that crumbled to dust at a touch. The world held its breath. This was no ordinary find. It was resurrection. But triumph soured swiftly. On December 22nd, Carter's pet canary fell victim to a cobra that slithered into its cage. The cobra, symbol of pharaonic protection, devouring the bird that had warned of the tomb's location by singing near the dig site. Superstition stirred. Then, in March 1923, as treasures were crated for the Nile journey, Carnarvon suffered a mosquito bite on his cheek. A careless shave turned it septic, blood poisoning spread, and by April 5th, in a Cairo hotel room, lit by flickering lamps, the Earl gasped his last at 57. Newspapers erupted. "Curse of the Pharaoh strikes." The Times of London claimed lights dimmed across Egypt at his death, plunging Luxor into darkness, a poetic flourish, but no less chilling. Carnarvon's own words, scribbled before the opening, haunted survivors. I have known cases where a scratch from a bramble has led to death. The press, starved for sensation, piled on. Novelist Marie Corelli, a spiritualist darling, declared she had long known of tomb warnings, dire punishment upon those who disturb a pharaoh's rest. Though no such inscription existed in KV 62, ancient Egyptians favoured prayers for the K, the soul's essence, over vengeful spells. Her words fueled the fire. Visitors flocked to the site, and tragedy followed. American financier George J. Gould caught a fever after peeking inside. He died in May 1923 on the French Riviera, his lungs ravaged. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, the radiologist who x-rayed the mummy's secrets, succumbed to cancer surgery complications in January 1924. Aubrey Herbert, Carnarvon's half-brother, perished from malaria in 1929, his body weakened by wartime poisons. Even Carter's secretary, Richard Bethel, met a shadowy end in November 1929, found asphyxiated in a London club, smothered, some whispered, by guilt's heavy hand. The toll mounted. Arthur Mace, a dig team member, wasted away from pleurisy in 1928. Hugh Evelyn White, an Egyptologist who handled Tut's linens, scrawled "cursed" on his suicide note in 1924 before hanging himself. By 1934, tabloids tallied over a dozen victims, from strokes to suicides, all linked by that fateful air from the tomb. Stakes escalated. Excavators donned gas masks, fearing poison. Carnarvon's widow sealed off his rooms. Convinced spirits lingered. The curse became a cultural juggernaut, inspiring films like The Mummy and books that romanticize Egypt's wrath. But beneath the drama, cracks appeared. Of 58 people who entered the tomb in those early years, only 8 died within a decade, fewer than average for men of their era and class. Carter himself, the tomb's unsealer, outlived the frenzy, dying peacefully in 1939 at 64 from Hodgkin's lymphoma. His last words are defiant, "Gentlemen, gentlemen, no nonsense." Science soon pierced the veil. The tomb's airtight seal had brewed a toxic cocktail, Aspergillus flavus. A mold thriving in undisturbed graves spewed spores that inflamed lungs in the vulnerable, like Carnarvon with his bronchitis. Bats and rodents carried histoplasmosis, a fungal foe mimicking the flu before ravaging organs. Recent analysis hints at radiation. Tut's artifacts contained uranium traces from Nile pigments, emitting low-level gamma rays that could weaken immune systems over time, explaining delayed illnesses. A 2002 British Medical Journal study crunched the numbers. No statistical spike in deaths among the exposed versus controls. It was coincidence amplified by media, pre-existing ailments, and the human thirst for mystery. Yet the legend endures, a reminder of hubris's price. Tutankhamun, the boy who reclaimed gods and glory, now guards not just gold but our fascination with the unknown. Did his spirit lash out? Or was it the desert's silent revenge? As Carter once mused, the tomb held wonderful things, and perhaps in its depths a warning that some secrets demand respect. The stakes of eternity remain high. Disturb the dead, and history might just bite back.